The silence in the city is deafening, except for the wind that howls between the abandoned buildings like 100 lonely, wailing ghosts. I prefer not to think about that, the wind or the ghosts. Making my way from empty doorway to empty doorway, I keep my eye out for them, the ghosts. When they arrived, no one knew what to do. Understandable. How does a city full of the living handle the sudden appearance of hundreds of thousands of specters and apparitions? It's not part of any emergency plan I've seen. Terrorist attacks, freak snowstorms, hurricanes, floods, earthquakes, you bet. Those you can plan for. 100 dock workers who died in the early 20th century during a labor strike, but are now roaming the streets, enraged because they were killed just for asking for fair pay and reasonable hours. That's a difficult scene to plan for, especially when the dock workers are neither reasonable nor alive. They still roam those streets, still pissed off, but they're half a city away, and they were far from the only dead who came back. Car accident victims lying in the streets, stopping traffic, causing chaos. Suicide victims plummeting from skyscrapers, one after the other, after the other, after the other. Murder victims, heart attacks, strokes, people killed in freak accidents, like a falling air conditioner crushing a family visiting for the summer. Every single dead soul, all at once visible and very upset. I stop. What's that? Over there? Crap. The little girl in the polka dot dress. I slip back into the shadows of the entryway to what had been quite an expensive luxury hotel, but is now just a home for those who were never able to leave. Keeping one eye on the hotel's lobby and one eye on the polka dot girl, I stay as still as I possibly can. Movement attracts them. Sound attracts them. Sometimes I even think that my warm blood attracts them. I wait, listening to the silence, listening to the wind. And there can be both, trust me, silence and wind. The silence is the lack of cars honking, the lack of people shouting, the lack of everything that makes a city alive and bustling. Even the lack of pigeons cooing or dogs barking. The wind is just mocking the loss of all that. The polka dot girl skips along the opposite sidewalk, humming a nameless little girl tune. Her dress lifts and falls with every skipping step she takes. Not that her feet touch the ground. She doesn't have feet. None of them do. It's as if a giant eraser scrubbed them away, leaving only a blurry mess below. They walk and run and skip and dance, but they don't touch the ground, ever. If you unfocus your eyes and look at them, they seem to move normally. But if you really concentrate, you see that they are floating. Movement inside the hotel lobby gets my attention, but I don't dare move my head to get a real look. Not with the polka dot girl passing by. She skips and hums until she's at the end of the street, where she waits for a non-working traffic light to change before crossing to the next block over. I let out the breath I didn't know I was holding and relax slightly. Then I glance into the hotel lobby and freeze once more. Standing close to the glass doors are 3 identical teenage boys. Triplets. I've seen twins before, but never triplets. Their mouths are thin lines of petulant anger. Their eyes aren't exactly burning red, but they aren't happy eyes, friendly eyes. And all 6 of those eyes are locked onto me. Before they can do that thing they do when they see a living person, I run. Turning in the opposite direction of the polka dot girl, I race down the sidewalk, running against the wind that is tunneling between all the buildings. My skin is already chapped from all the days spent out in the elements. It's not yet winter, so at least there isn't the biting cold trying to slice open my cheeks. It's an autumn damp that permeates everything right now, and I clasp my hands around my jacket to keep the warmth in as I jog. I don't look back. I don't want to see if the triplets have followed me or not. Usually, the ghosts stay put, preferring to dwell where they died. But sometimes, like with the polka dot girl, they give chase, pursuing me through the city until, for some reason I haven't figured out, they just stop, turn, and go back the way they came. Except for the polka dot girl. She never turns back. I spent 2 days trying to lose her before I was forced to duck down into the sewers. She won't go in the sewers. I guess some ghosts have standards higher than mine. After about 4 blocks, I slow down to a brisk walk. I still don't look behind me. If the triplets were on my tail, I'd have heard them by now. The city may be silent, but the ghosts aren't. Not when they see me. Not when they are in the presence of the living. They open their mouths and out comes the most horrible wailing. It's almost like a siren, but also nothing like a siren. It's more like the wind. There's a building up ahead that I aim for, and as soon as I am at the door, I duck inside, carefully closing the door behind me so it doesn't bang. I wait for a few minutes, just to be sure, but there are no triplets, so I let the tension in my shoulders ease a bit before turning and walking deeper into the building. It's an old cafeteria, one of the few that survived the age of fast food, slow food, and all of the culinary trends over the decades. The place has that retro vibe, which is simply due to the fact that, other than repairs here and there, nothing has been updated probably since the 1970s. Yellow plastic booths surround lime green formica tables for families and groups. Red seated stools line the counter for solo diners, while pairs of blue metal chairs face each other across small tables meant for couples grabbing a quick bite of hopefully warm prime rib or probably not so crispy fried chicken. My mouth waters at the thought of overcooked beef and greasy chicken. God, I would give anything to taste either one of them. But the city has no power, and without power, there is no refrigeration. What meat was left behind by the fleeing masses has long since spoiled. I raided a few kitchens before the meat spoiled, especially that high-end restaurant during the first few days after the evacuation. I gorged myself on the steaks until I got sick, even though I could have stretched them across several meals. It was a stupid rookie mistake. I don't make those kinds of mistakes anymore. Heading toward the kitchen, I think of how it was in those early days, how the government and the press were calling those apparitions hoaxes, how a Silicon Valley tech startup was originally blamed and the CEO arrested for creating AI versions of the deceased and unleashing them on the public as some sort of publicity stunt. The authorities couldn't have been more wrong. Then a floorboard creaks somewhere nearby. I stop and listen. A creaking floorboard could mean the building is settling, or it could mean something with weight is walking. Ghosts don't have any weight, so I might not be alone today. I know I'm not the only living person left in this city. With a former population in the millions, it's just statistically impossible for me to be alone. But it's a big city, and in the years I've survived here, I've caught glimpses of other living people from a distance. We never get close enough to speak. Warm bloods keep to ourselves, whether it's fear or distrust or greed over what meager supplies are left. If we encounter each other, we turn and run, just like we would from the ghosts. No one talks to each other. We don't check to see if anyone needs help or assistance. Live and let live has a whole new meaning these days. I stand stock still as I count to 200 in my head. When there's not another creak, I get moving again. Must have been the wind. The kitchen in the cafeteria is massive. It had to be to keep the breakfast, lunch, and dinner buffets stocked and warm throughout the day. Stocked and warm were the priorities. Taste came a distant second. I weave around prep tables, carts, and long cooking stations until I reach the storeroom at the back, where the dried and canned goods are kept. The dried goods are still edible, but completely stale. Some rock hard, others crumbling to dust. I nearly broke a tooth on a chocolate chip cookie when I first found the place. Reaching out slowly, I carefully push the storeroom's doors open. While the space isn't nearly as big as the kitchen, it's pretty big and pretty picked over. I take a folded piece of paper out of my back pocket, unfold it, and compare my notes to what's still on the steel mesh shelves. I walk up and down the room, making sure that all the food cans of green beans and corn and boiled potatoes are present and accounted for. They are, but when I reach the shelves on the other side of the room, I stop. Several items are missing. Cans of pudding and fruit, along with 2 boxes of instant mashed potatoes. Great. Someone is poaching my claim. So much for all of us warm bloods staying away from each other. This isn't good. Yes, it's just some pudding and fruit and horrible tasting instant potatoes now. But what will they take next? All the cans of collard greens? The bags of rice? Oh, crap. The bags of rice. I rush to the far corner and sigh with relief when I see the 50-pound bags still stacked, one on top of the other. Then I look closer. One of them has been sliced open, and grains of rice are spilling out onto the floor. Glancing around, I think of that creak I heard. There are old offices and businesses on the upper floors, but directly above this floor is extra seating for when the cafeteria used to get slammed during meal rushes. Craning my neck, I stare at the ceiling, willing that creak to come again and confirm my worst fears. But after a few minutes, all I get is a stiff neck. I take out my pen to adjust the inventory, then curse as the pen refuses to leave more than a phantom script on the paper, all out of ink. Heading back out to the dining room, I step behind the counter and grab one of the many pens sitting in a red mug by the old cash register. I check it and toss it, all dried up too. After a few misses, I finally find a working one and walk back toward the storeroom. Then I hear a creak, followed by a slow, scraping shuffle. Wind pushing on the building can create a creak, but not a scraping shuffle. That takes a foot connected to a leg, connected to a person. Great. A decision needs to be made. Flee or fight. I searched hard for this cafeteria. Most of the restaurants and markets were ransacked in the first few weeks of this nonsense, or their inventories were loaded onto trucks that joined the many caravans of people evacuating the nightmare city. Yeah, there are ghosts out in the country, but there is also space. Lots of empty space. Space where you probably don't see a ghost for miles, maybe even days. Space this city doesn't have. This was a place where people lived on top of each other, crammed shoulder to shoulder in studio apartments and co-ops. Add in the history, and there are more ghosts here than there were living when it all fell apart. By the time I finish weighing my options, I've made my choice. I'm tired of fleeing, just damn tired of it. Stepping into the kitchen, I pull a large chef's knife off the magnetic strip above the long make table, then head back out and find the stairs to the second floor. Needless to say, they are old stairs, and they shift and groan under my weight. Whoever is up there knows I'm coming, but with the knife in hand, I stay silent. No need to make it easier for them. When my head crests the top step, I freeze, hoping I don't take a baseball bat or 2x4 to the skull. No attack comes. I keep moving. The space is filled with 4 large tables. Staying close to the wall, I squint my eyes into the gloom, hoping to see whoever it is before they see me, which I do. I spot someone huddled in the corner beneath a mishmash of quilts and sleeping bags, with only a pair of eyes staring out at me. A couple of the missing cans sit beside the nest. One lies on its side, empty, its contents scraped almost clean. The other is open, with a large serving spoon sticking out of it. I am prepared to shout and yell and charge the person, but something about the eyes stops me. Bright blue, moist with fear. It's not hard to tell, even in the dim light, that these aren't adult eyes. I'm looking at and being watched by a child. Holding my hands up, I crouch low and tell them that it's okay. It's all okay. I won't hurt them. The eyes widen and the nest shrinks in on itself. Then I realize I'm still holding the knife, so I slowly set it on the floor. The eyes flit from my face to the knife and back. I reiterate that I'm not going to hurt them, but I can see panic in those eyes, and it's building. My legs get tired of crouching, and I shift positions. That's when the child explodes out from the nest of blankets and sleeping bags, shoving chairs and tables out of their way as they flee my perceived menace. But the second they get to the top of the steps, they skid to a stop, their body turning to granite. Not literally, but close enough. They are as still as a statue. I go to call out to them, hoping I can convince them that I'm not here to hurt them. I just want to ask some questions. But my words lodge in my throat as I hear what made the kid stop. Humming. The humming of a nameless tune. And I am pretty sure that the source of the humming has just skipped inside the cafeteria's dining room below. The polka dot girl is here with us. I'm now as frozen as the kid. Two living, breathing, warm-blooded statues. The humming gets quieter as the polka dot girl skips her way deeper into the cafeteria. Then it's barely audible. She must have drifted through the doors or wall and moved into the kitchen. I hate to leave without some food, but now is the time to go. I jump up and race to the kid, scooping them under one arm as I sprint down the stairs. I'm lucky I don't fall over from being off balance, but my feet stay under me, and we get to the bottom just as the polka dot girl floats through the ladies' restroom door. The polka dot girl sees me, and I meet her dead gaze. The child squirms in my grip. The polka dot girl tilts her head one way, then the other as I slowly set the kid down on their feet. They don't bolt, which is a good move, as the polka dot girl studies us with those dead eyes. Without being told, the kid slowly backs toward the front doors. I follow, taking careful steps, knowing that if I trip and fall now, I may not ever get back up. The polka dot girl skips closer, then pauses. She skips closer, then pauses again. The kid and I just walk our terrified asses backward to the door until both of us bump into glass. The polka dot girl stops, does that head tilt again, then begins to open her mouth wide, wider than any living person's mouth can go. It's as if her head is splitting open from the jaw. I don't wait for the wail to come shrieking out of her wide-open maw. I shove the doors open, grab the kid up again, and run. The kid doesn't fight me, which is good, because even though they weigh almost nothing, I'm not exactly at the peak of health, and any parent knows that a thrashing child is a force of nature. The wail echoes out of the cafeteria, and the kid cries out, but still doesn't try to get free. So I run and run and run. All around us, ghosts begin to appear. Some float out of walls, some step out from doors, some come up from basements, just appearing in the middle of stone steps and walkways as we sprint by. Luckily, they aren't wailing. Not yet. Turning the corner, I sprint to the next block, turn that corner, and keep going until my lungs are burning so badly that I think I'll pass out. I hurry us into the doorway of an old bodega and fall on my ass. The child wriggles free but doesn't run. Instead, they retreat to the other side of the doorway and watch me closely. Up close, I realize the child is a girl, no more than 10 or 11. Jesus, that would mean she was barely a toddler when all this went down. Where are her parents? Far back, The wailing continues, but the other ghosts still haven't picked it up. I know they saw us fleeing, but we didn't garner quite enough attention for them to get all worked up like the polka dot girl. To be fair, none of them gets worked up like the polka dot girl. The living girl beside me isn't crying or panicking. She simply stares at me, perfectly still. I hold up my palm in a wait gesture. She nods, which is a great sign. When no other ghosts appear and the polka dot girl's wailing fades, I ask if she's hurt. She shakes her head. I ask if she has parents. After a pause, she shakes her head again. When I ask if she's hungry, she nods vigorously. I ask if she wants to come home with me and have dinner. I wasn't able to stock up, but I have enough in the pantry to feed us tonight and maybe tomorrow. She doesn't answer right away, but then she slowly nods. I nod back and stand up, holding out my hand. She takes it, and we leave the bodega's doorway, leading her through a route that I know has the fewest ghosts. I get us far away from these busy blocks until we're in a residential area. I unlock the stairwell door and start to climb. The girl pauses, pulling on my hand. I tell her I live upstairs and it's all right. The ghosts here leave me alone for whatever reason. She finally relents, and we climb the stairs 2 floors until we reach my apartment. I get the keys out and let us in. I hurry to the kitchen to warm some food on my little gas camping stove. The girl hesitates, then begins exploring the apartment. I wait for a cry or a scream, but all I hear is a sharp intake of breath. I find her in the first bedroom, staring at the 2 children lying motionless in their bunk beds. I tell her they're my twins, a boy and a girl. Then I lead her to what used to be my bedroom, where my wife lies in the king-sized bed. I explain that I came home from a work trip, expecting shouting children and a frazzled wife. Instead, I found silence. A faulty water heater had filled the floor with carbon monoxide. Half the tenants died in their sleep, including my entire family. For weeks, I mourned. Then the dead began appearing, and one night, I walked into the bedroom to find my wife lying exactly as she does now. The twins were back in their bunks, so I didn't leave the city. The girl nods, tears filling her eyes, then returns to the kitchen. I dish up a meager dinner and sit beside her on the couch, which also serves as my bed. We eat in silence as the wind outside wails like 100 lonely ghosts.